You've been praying for God to lead you to the right woman, but you're not sure if you're supposed to wait for her to appear or actively pursue someone you're interested in. If you should be looking in specific places or trusting God to orchestrate circumstances, if the leading will be obvious or subtle. You're stuck between wanting to take initiative as a man and wanting to follow God's direction, wondering how those two things work together and how you'll know when God is actually leading versus when you're just following your own desires. The first way God leads a man to the right woman is by preparing you before he reveals her, developing in you the character, maturity, spiritual depth, and practical readiness you'll need to recognize her when she appears and to lead her well once you're together. God doesn't typically lead you to the right woman when you're still the wrong man. He prepares you first, then positions you, then reveals her. This preparation often happens in seasons when you're not even thinking about relationships. You're focused on your career, your spiritual growth, your ministry, your responsibilities. And while you're focused on those things, God is developing in you what your future wife will need you to have. He's teaching you patience through difficult circumstances that have nothing to do with dating. He's developing your integrity through financial pressures that test your character. He's building your spiritual leadership through seasons of having to seek God on your own. He's maturing you through trials that break pride and build humility. Every season of preparation is developing in you what she'll need you to bring to the relationship. Think about Joseph in Genesis 37-41. Before he met his wife Asenath, before he was in position to marry anyone, God spent 13 years preparing him. Betrayal by his brothers taught him about forgiveness. Slavery in Potiphar's house taught him administration and faithfulness. False accusation in prison taught him to trust God when circumstances were unjust. Being forgotten by the cupbearer taught him patience. Every experience was preparing Joseph to be the kind of man who could steward the position he would eventually occupy and the woman he would eventually marry. If God had led Joseph to the right woman while he was still an arrogant 17-year-old, Joseph wouldn't have been ready for her. When God is preparing you before revealing the right woman, you'll notice several things happening in your life. You'll be going through character development that feels unrelated to relationships, learning responsibility through work challenges, developing patience through delayed promises, building integrity through financial stewardship. You'll be establishing your spiritual life independently. Your prayer life, your worship, your Bible study, your relationship with God that doesn't depend on impressing anyone. You'll be building practical stability, getting your finances in order, developing career skills, learning to manage your household, becoming someone who can actually provide for a family. You'll be breaking patterns from your past, dealing with wounds from your family of origin, addressing unhealthy relationship patterns, healing from previous heartbreaks. This preparation phase often feels like God has forgotten your desire for marriage. You pray for a wife, and instead of leading you to a woman, He leads you through fire that refines your character. You ask for direction about relationships, and instead He directs you to deal with issues in yourself you've been avoiding. You want revelation about who you'll marry, and instead you get revelation about who you need to become. But that's not God ignoring your prayers. That's God answering them by preparing you to be ready for what you're asking for. Here's what's vital. Don't skip the preparation phase. Don't rush into pursuing a woman before God has finished preparing you to lead her well. Don't force timing because you're tired of waiting. Because if God leads you to the right woman before you're the right man, one of two things will happen. Either you'll mess it up because you're not ready, or you won't even recognize her because you're looking for the wrong things. The preparation isn't wasting time. It's making you ready for what God is preparing to give you. Trust the process. Let God finish the work He's doing in you. Because when you're prepared, when you're ready, when you're mature enough to recognize and lead the right woman, that's when God will lead you to her. The second way God leads a man to the right woman is by positioning you in the right places, geographically, socially, spiritually, and professionally, where your path can intersect with hers. God doesn't just prepare you and the right woman separately. He also moves you into positions where you can actually meet. And often, that positioning requires you to be obedient to God's leading in areas that have nothing to do with dating. When God is leading you to the right woman through strategic positioning, He might prompt you to make moves that don't make sense from a relationship standpoint, but make perfect sense from His perspective. He might lead you to change churches, and you resist because you've been there for years and have community. But He's positioning you because the right woman is at the church He's leading you to. He might prompt you to take a new job in a different city, and you hesitate because it seems like a career step backward. But He's positioning you geographically because she's in that city. He might lead you to join a ministry team or small group that doesn't seem to fit your gifting. But He's positioning you socially because that's where you'll meet her or someone who knows her. Look at Ruth and Boaz in the book of Ruth. Boaz was already positioned in Bethlehem, established in his field, faithfully living his life. Ruth was in Moab, grieving the death of her husband. If Ruth had stayed in Moab where it made logical sense to stay, she never would have met Boaz. But God led Ruth to make a decision that seemed crazy, to follow her mother-in-law Naomi back to Bethlehem, a foreign country where Ruth had no connections, no prospects, no security. That obedience to God's leading positioned Ruth geographically in the exact city where Boaz was. Then God led Ruth to glean in the fields for food, and not just any field, Boaz's field specifically. The positioning was precise, intentional, divinely orchestrated. When God is positioning you to meet the right woman, you need to be obedient to His leading even when it doesn't seem relationship related. If He's prompting you to move to a new city for a job opportunity, obey. If He's leading you to get more involved in church ministry, obey. If He's telling you to join a small group or community, obey. If He's directing you to attend a conference or event, obey. Don't resist God's positioning just because you can't see how it leads to meeting your wife. God sees the full picture. He knows where she is. He knows what positions you need to be in for your path to cross. Your job is to obey His leading in the areas where He's clearly directing you, trusting that He's positioning you for purposes you can't see yet, including leading you to the right woman. But here's what you need to understand. Strategic positioning doesn't mean you manipulate circumstances to force meetings. It doesn't mean you start attending every singles event, joining every dating app, or going to places specifically to hunt for women. That's you trying to position yourself. God's positioning comes through following His leading in normal areas of life, work, ministry, community, friendships, and trusting that He'll orchestrate divine appointments within those contexts. You're not manufacturing opportunities. You're being faithful where God has placed you and watching for the woman He brings into your path. This is also why being active in church and community matters. God typically leads godly men to godly women in contexts where godly people gather. If you're isolated, if you're not involved in any community, if you're not connected to the body of Christ, you're limiting the context where God can position you to meet the right woman. But if you're faithfully serving, actively involved, genuinely pursuing community and ministry, God has multiple contexts where He can position you, multiple opportunities where your path can intersect with hers. Here's what's essential. Positioning requires your participation. God won't force you to go where He's leading you. If He's prompting you to change churches and you refuse, you might miss the divine appointment He had planned there. If He's directing you to move to a new city and you resist, you might stay in the wrong location while she's in the right one. If He's leading you to get involved in a specific ministry and you ignore it, you might miss the opportunity to meet her in that context. God leads, but you have to follow. And your willingness to follow His leading in areas that don't seem relationship related is often how He positions you to meet the woman He has for you. The third way God leads a man to the right woman is by opening your eyes to see someone you've already known in a completely new way. Shifting your perspective so that a friend, a colleague, someone in your community who's been there all along suddenly becomes someone you see with fresh eyes, someone you recognize as more than you thought they were, someone God reveals as the woman He's had for you all along. This is one of the most common ways God leads men to the right woman. But it's also one men resist the most because it doesn't match the Hollywood narrative of love at first sight. You've been taught that when you meet the right woman, you'll just know immediately. There will be instant attraction, immediate chemistry, undeniable sparks. But God often works differently. He often leads you to a woman who's been in your life for months or years, someone you've known as a friend or acquaintance, someone you never considered romantically because you were looking for fireworks when God was building friendship. Then something shifts. Maybe it's a conversation where you see her wisdom in a way you never noticed before. Maybe it's watching her serve others and recognizing her character. Maybe it's her response to a crisis that shows you her strength. Maybe it's time revealing her consistency when everyone else in your life has been inconsistent. Whatever it is, your eyes open. You start seeing her not as just a friend, but as someone you could build a life with. The attraction that was missing before starts to develop, not based on superficial qualities, but on genuine appreciation for who she is as a person. Think about how Jacob's eyes were opened to Leah in Genesis 29. He worked 7 years for Rachel, was tricked into marrying Leah, and initially resented the deception. But over time, Leah's faithfulness, her pursuit of God, her character began to matter. The text shows Leah bearing children and seeking God's favor, demonstrating qualities of a godly woman. While the situation was messy because of deception, the principle remains: sometimes the right woman is right in front of you, but you can't see her until God opens your eyes to recognize what's been there all along. When God is leading you to see a woman differently, you'll notice several changes in how you perceive her. You start noticing qualities you overlooked before: her wisdom in conversations, her faithfulness in serving, her character in how she treats people, her heart for God and how she worships. You find yourself wanting to spend more time with her, not just for fun, but because you value her perspective, her presence, her input. You start seeing her in contexts where you notice how others respond to her, how children gravitate to her kindness, how friends trust her with struggles, how leaders recognize her maturity. You begin imagining a future with her that you never considered before, and instead of that feeling random, it feels right. Here's what's fundamental. This shift in perspective has to be genuine, not manufactured. You can't force yourself to be attracted to someone just because they check boxes on paper. You can't convince yourself to see someone differently just because they make a good spouse logically. God opening your eyes is supernatural. It's Him revealing what was hidden, showing you what you couldn't see on your own, shifting your perception in ways you can't explain but can't deny. If you're trying to talk yourself into being interested in someone, that's not God leading you to see differently. That's you trying to force something that isn't there. And if God is leading you to see a woman differently, someone you've known as a friend, you need to be wise and intentional about how you proceed. Don't suddenly change how you treat her in ways that create confusion or discomfort. Don't make your interest awkward or aggressive. Instead, be honest with God about what you're sensing. Seek wise counsel about whether you should pursue. And if you get confirmation to move forward, communicate clearly and respectfully with her about your growing interest. The shift in your perspective doesn't guarantee she feels the same way. So you need to be prepared for the possibility that God opened your eyes to see her clearly, but she's not the one for you, or that the timing isn't right yet. The fourth way God leads a man to the right woman is through confirmation from godly counsel. Mature believers who know you well, have your best interests at heart, and can see what you might be missing because you're too close to the situation or too emotionally invested. God rarely leads in isolation. He uses the body of Christ to confirm, correct, and guide you as you navigate the decision of who to pursue and ultimately marry. Proverbs 15 verse 22 says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." When God is leading you to the right woman, He'll use multiple advisors to confirm that leading. Your pastor will sense that this is a good match. Your spiritual mentors will express peace about the relationship. Your close friends who know you well will affirm what they see. Your parents, if they're walking with God, will recognize his hand in bringing you together. The confirmation won't come from just one person who might be biased or wrong. It'll come from multiple sources who all see the same thing from different perspectives. In Genesis 24, Abraham's servant sought confirmation about whether Rebekah was the right woman for Isaac. He prayed for a specific sign, and when Rebekah fulfilled that sign, he still didn't act immediately. He asked her family about the situation. Her brother Laban and father Bethuel confirmed in verse 50, "This is from the Lord." The servant had his own leading. Rebekah demonstrated the signs, and then the family confirmed it. Multiple witnesses all pointing to the same conclusion. That's how God leads. When God is leading you to the right woman through godly counsel, you need to actively seek that counsel. You can't hide the relationship or avoid introducing her to important people in your life and then claim you're following God's leading. If you're keeping the relationship secret from your spiritual community, if you're avoiding your mentor's questions about her, if you're not introducing her to your parents, if you're defensive when people ask about the relationship, those are red flags. You're either afraid they'll see problems you're ignoring, or you already know they won't approve and you're avoiding their input because you've already decided what you want regardless of what God might be saying through them. But if God is truly leading you to this woman, you'll want godly counsel. You'll seek input. You'll introduce her to your spiritual community. You'll ask your mentors to pray with you. You'll invite perspective from people who've known you longest. And when you do, if this is truly from God, the confirmation will come. Not from everyone. Unsaved friends might not understand. Jealous peers might criticize. Controlling family members might object for selfish reasons. But the mature, godly, spiritually discerning people who genuinely want God's will for your life will affirm what they see. And if they don't, if the people who know you best are expressing concern, if multiple mature believers are seeing red flags you're dismissing, if your mentors are saying slow down and you're speeding up, if your spiritual community is uncomfortable with her and you're getting defensive, that's God using his body to protect you from what your emotions are blinding you to. Don't dismiss godly counsel just because it's not what you want to hear. God often speaks through other people to protect you from yourself, to see what you can't see when you're emotionally invested, to provide perspective when you're too close to be objective. Here's what's indispensable. Godly counsel should come from people who know you, love you, and want God's best for you. Not from jealous friends who don't want to see you happy. Not from critical family members who won't approve of anyone. Not from people who barely know you offering opinions based on limited information. But from your pastor who's walked with you spiritually for years. From your mentor who's seen you through different seasons. From your close friends who know your history, your struggles, your character. From your parents, if they're mature believers who want God's will more than their own preferences. These are the voices that matter. And when these voices are confirming what you're sensing from God, that's strong evidence that God is leading you to the right woman. The fifth way God leads a man to the right woman is through increasing clarity. The more you seek him in prayer, the more you study his word, the more you worship and wait on him, the clearer his leading becomes. God doesn't typically reveal his full plan in one moment. He leads you step by step, giving you enough light for the next step, increasing your clarity as you continue to seek him and follow his direction. James 1 verse 5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." When you're seeking God about the right woman, when you're asking for wisdom about who to pursue or whether to continue a relationship, God will give you that wisdom, but often not all at once. Often not in a dramatic revelation. Often through increasing clarity that comes as you continue to seek him, as you keep praying, as you stay in his word, as you worship and wait on him for direction. When God is leading you through increasing clarity, you'll notice that the more you pray about a specific woman, the more peace you have, or the more unsettled you become. The more you seek God, the more obvious the answer becomes. What was confusing at first becomes clearer. What you weren't sure about initially becomes more certain. The direction that was foggy starts to solidify. and you recognize that the clarity isn't coming from your own thinking or analysis. It's coming from time spent with God, from seeking Him, from letting Him speak to your heart through prayer and His Word. Think about how Gideon sought confirmation from God in Judges 6-7. He asked for a sign with the fleece. God gave it. Then he asked for the opposite sign to be sure. God gave that too. Gideon wasn't being faithless. He was seeking clarity. And God honored that by giving him increased confirmation the more he sought it. The same principle applies to seeking God about the right woman. The more you seek Him, the more clarity He gives you. The more you pray, the more peace you have, or the more conviction you have that this isn't the right path. Here's what's paramount. Seeking God for increasing clarity requires patience. You can't demand that God give you instant, complete revelation about who you should marry. You can't pray once and expect total clarity. God often reveals His will progressively, giving you enough to take the next step, then more clarity after you take that step. He might give you peace to ask her out, then more clarity after a few dates about whether to continue. He might give you confirmation to pursue the relationship, then more direction after several months about whether to move toward engagement. The increasing clarity comes as you continue to seek Him at each stage, not as a one-time download of the entire plan. This is also why you need to be seeking God more than you're seeking a wife. If you're more focused on finding the right woman than you are on knowing God, you won't have the spiritual sensitivity to recognize His leading. Your desperation for relationship will drown out His voice. Your anxiety about being alone will create noise that makes it hard to hear His whisper. But if you're seeking God first, if your primary pursuit is knowing Him and following Him, if you're more concerned with His will than with your relationship status, that's when His leading becomes clear. That's when you can discern His voice. That's when you recognize the difference between His peace and your emotions. The sixth way God leads a man to the right woman is through aligned timing and open doors. Circumstances falling into place, opportunities presenting themselves, and the timing being right in both of your lives for relationship to develop. When God is leading you to the right woman, He doesn't just prepare you and her separately. He also aligns your timelines so that when you meet, you're both ready, both available, both in seasons where relationship can actually develop. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." When God is leading you to the right woman, the timing will make sense. You'll both be in life seasons where you can actually invest and get to know each other. You won't be in drastically different stages, one ready for marriage immediately and the other years away from being ready. The circumstances won't be creating impossible obstacles. One of you moving across the country, both drowning in responsibilities that leave no space for relationship, either of you in situations that make dating impractical or impossible. God also opens doors that confirm His leading. Opportunities to spend time together will present themselves naturally without you having to force or manufacture them. Conversations will flow easily. Practical obstacles that would prevent the relationship from developing will move. Resources will be available, financial ability to date appropriately, time in your schedule to invest in getting to know her, emotional bandwidth to be present in building something. And you'll recognize that the doors opening aren't just coincidence. They're God confirming that this is the right woman at the right time. Think about how God aligned the timing for Isaac and Rebekah in Genesis 24. Abraham sent his servant to find a wife for Isaac at exactly the right time, after Sarah's death when Isaac needed comfort, when Isaac was mature enough for marriage, when Rebekah was also of marriageable age and ready. The servant arrived at the well at the exact time Rebekah came to draw water. The timing was so precise that the servant recognized it as God's leading. When God is orchestrating timing, the alignment is obvious. But here's what you need to understand. Aligned timing doesn't mean zero obstacles. You'll still have to work to make time for each other. You'll still have to navigate schedules, make sacrifices, coordinate logistics. But the difference is that those obstacles are manageable, not insurmountable. The challenges are things you can work through together, not impossible barriers that make relationship impractical. And the doors that open outnumber the doors that close, creating a path forward rather than a wall blocking progress. Here's what's imperative. Don't try to force timing just because you're impatient. Don't push for commitment before the timing is right in both your lives. Don't manufacture opportunities or manipulate circumstances to create artificial alignment. Trust God's timing. If He's leading you to the right woman, He'll align your timelines, open the necessary doors, and create the circumstances where relationship can develop naturally. Your job is to be faithful in following His leading, not forcing your preferred timeline. Subscribe for more biblical truth about relationships and following God's leading as a man.